Here is the Voice of the Silence by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Excerpts from the Book of Golden Precepts. Preface. The following pages are extracted from the Book of Golden Precepts, one of the works used by students of mysticism in the East. Their knowledge is obligatory in this school, the teachings of which are accepted by a large number of Theosophists. Thus, as I know many of these precepts by heart, their translation has been for me a relatively easy task. It is well known that in India, the methods of psychic development vary among the gurus, teachers or masters, not only because of their affiliation with various philosophical schools, 6 in number, but also because each guru has their own system, usually kept highly secret. However, beyond the Himalayas, the method followed in esoteric schools does not vary, unless the guru is merely a simple lama with knowledge little superior to those whom he instructs. The work to which the fragments I translate here belong is part of the same series from which the stanzas of the Book of Dzyan are drawn, upon which the secret doctrine is based. The Book of Golden Precepts claims the same origin as the great mystical work called Paramartha, which, according to the legend of Nagarjuna, was imparted to the great Arhat by the Nagas, or serpents, title given to ancient initiates. However, its maxims and ideas, though noble and original, are frequently found under diverse forms in Sanskrit works, such as the Dinyaneshwari, a splendid mystical treatise in which Krishna describes Arjuna in vivid colors as a fully enlightened yogi, and also in certain Upanishads. This is quite natural because, if not all, the vast majority of the greatest Arhats, the early disciples of Gautama Buddha, were Indian and Aryan, not Mongolian, especially those who migrated to Tibet. The works left solely by Ryasanga are numerous. The original precepts are engraved on thin square plates. Many copies are on discs. These discs or plates are generally kept on the altars of the temples annexed to the centers where the schools called contemplative or Mahayanas, Yogacharya, are established. They are written in various ways, sometimes in Tibetan, but mainly in ideographic characters. The priestly language, Senzar, besides having its own alphabet, can be expressed through various systems of ciphered writing, the characters of which are more akin to the nature of the ideogram than syllables. Another method, lug in Tibetan, involves using numbers and colors, each corresponding to a letter of the Tibetan alphabet, which comprises 30 simple letters and 74 compound ones, thus forming a complete cryptographic alphabet. When ideographic signs are used, there is a defined way to read the text because, in this case, the symbols and signs used in astrology, that is, the 12 animals of the zodiac and the 7 primary colors, each triple in gradation or shade, namely light, primary and dark, represent the 33 letters of the simple alphabet, instead of words and phrases. For in this method, the 12 animals repeated 5 times, and associated with the 5 elements and the 7 colors, provide a complete alphabet composed of 60 sacred letters and 12 signs. A sign placed at the beginning of the text determines whether the reader should decipher it according to the Indian system, in which each word is simply a Sanskrit adaptation, or if they should do so according to the Chinese principle of reading ideographic signs. However, the easiest method allows the reader to use no special language or the one they prefer, as the signs and symbols were, like Arabic figures or numbers, a common and international property among the initiated and their disciples. This same peculiarity characterizes one of the forms of Chinese writing, which can be read as easily by anyone who knows the characters. For example, a Japanese can read it in their own language as easily as a Chinese in theirs. The Book of Golden Precepts, some of which are pre-Buddhist, while others belong to a later period, contains about 90 distinct small treatises. I learned by heart 39 of them years ago. To translate the others, I would have to resort to the multitude of notes scattered among the papers and notebooks collected over the last 20 years and never arranged, their number being too great for the task to be easy. Moreover, they could not all be translated and presented to a world already too selfish and attached to sensory objects to be disposed to receive in its true spirit such sublime morals. Well, unless man formally persists in his effort to attain self-knowledge, he will never listen complacently to reflections and teachings of this nature. Yet such ethics fill volumes upon volumes in Eastern literature, especially in the Upanishads. Kill every desire for life, says Krishna to Arjuna. Such desire resides solely in the body, the vehicle of the self incarnated in the self, which is eternal, neither kills nor is killed. Katha Upanishad. Kill sensation, teaches the Sutta Nipata. Regard pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat as equal. Moreover, seek refuge only in the eternal. Same. Destroy the feeling of separateness, Krishna repeats in all his forms. The mind, manas, that abandons itself to wandering senses, leaves the soul, buddhi, as vulnerable as a boat carried away by a hurricane on the waves. Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, it has been deemed more appropriate to make a judicious selection only of those treatises that are most beneficial for the few true mystics of the Theosophical Society, and that will surely meet their needs. These are the only ones who will appreciate these words of Krishna Christos, the higher self. The wise grieve not for the living or the dead. I never was not, nor thou, nor any of these rulers of men, nor shall we ever cease to be hereafter. Bhagavad Gita, Tan 11:12. In this translation, I have done my utmost to preserve the poetic beauty of the language and images that characterize the original. To what extent my efforts have succeeded, it is for the reader to judge. Dedicated to the few. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky fragment, I the voice of the silence. The following instructions are addressed to those who are unaware of the dangers of the lower idhi. He who claims to hear the voice of the nada, the soundless sound, and understand it, must learn the nature of dharana. Having become indifferent to objects of perception, the disciple must seek the Raja, king of the senses, the producer of thought, the one who awakens illusion. The mind is the great destroyer of the real. Let the disciple destroy the destroyer. For, when his own form seems illusory to him, as in waking, all the forms he sees in dreams. When he has ceased to hear the many sounds, then he can discern the one, the inner sound that kills the outer. Only then, and not before, will he leave the region of the asat, the false, to enter the realm of sat, the true. Before the soul can see, the inner harmony must be attained, and the physical eyes must remain blind to all illusion. Before the soul can hear, it is necessary that the image man becomes as deaf to the roars as to the whispers, to the bellowing of furious elephants as to the silver buzzing of the golden firefly. Before the soul can understand and remember, it must be united with the silent speaker, in the same way that the form in which the clay is molded is linked at the beginning with the potter's mind. For then the soul will hear and remember, and then to the inner ear will speak, the voice of the silence, and say, if your soul smiles while bathing in the sunlight of your life, if your soul sings within its chrysalis of flesh and matter, if your soul weeps in its castle of illusions, if your soul struggles to break the silver thread that binds it to the master, know, disciple, that your soul is of the earth. When your soul in bud listens to the worldly tumult, when it responds to the roaring voice of the great illusion, when, fearing the sight of burning tears of pain and deafened by cries of distress, your soul, like a cotius tortoise, seeks refuge in the shell of selfishness, know, O disciple, that your soul is an unworthy temple of its sealant God. When, already more fortified, your soul slips out of its safe refuge, and detaching itself from the protective sanctuary, extends its silver thread and leaps forward. When contemplating its image in the waves of space, it murmurs, it is I, you can say, O disciple, that your soul is caught in the nets of illusion. This earth, disciple, is the vestibule of pain, where along the path enormous trials are placed, different traps to catch yourself, deceived by the illusion called the great heresy. This earth, O ignorant disciple, is nothing but the perplexing entrance that leads to the twilight, preceding the valley of true light, a light that no wind can extinguish, that light which burns without wick or fuel. The great law says, to become a knower of the whole self, you must first be a knower of the self. To attain the knowledge of this self, you must first abandon the self to the non-self, the being to the non-being, and then you can rest between the wings of the great bird. Yes, rest is sweet between the wings of what is neither born nor dead, but rather the AUM throughout the eternities. Mount the bird of life if you want to know. Renounce your life if you want to live. 3 vestibules, O weary pilgrim, lead to the end of weariness. 3 vestibules, O conqueror of Mara, will lead you through 3 states to the 4th, and from there to the 7 worlds, to the worlds of eternal rest. If you want to learn their names, pay attention and remember. The name of the first vestibule is ignorance, avidya. It is the vestibule where you saw the light, where you live and where you will die. The name of the second vestibule is that of learning. In it, your soul will find the flowers of life, but under each flower, a coiled serpent. The name of the third vestibule is wisdom, beyond which stretch the shoreless waters of Akshara, the inexhaustible source of omniscience. If you want to safely pass through the first vestibule, do not let your mind confuse the splendor of passions burning there with the sunlight of life. If you want to pass unharmed through the second, do not stop to inhale the numbing fragrance of its flowers. If you want to free yourself from karmic chains, do not seek your guru in these Mayavic regions. The wise never stop in the recreation gardens of the senses. The wise ignore the flattering voices of illusion. Seek in the vestibule of wisdom the one who must give you birth. The vestibule that lies beyond, where all shadows are unknown, and where the light of truth shines with imperishable glory. What is uncreated dwells in you, disciple, as it dwells in this vestibule. If you want to reach it and merge the two into one, you must strip off the dark garments of illusion. Dull the voice of the flesh. Let no image of the senses stand between its light and yours, so that the two may blend into one. And as soon as you have mastered your own ajnana, flee the vestibule of instruction. This vestibule is dangerous in its treacherous beauty, but it is necessary for your test. Beware, Lanu, lest, dazzled by the illusory brilliance, your soul lingers behind and is caught by its deceitful light. This light emanates from the jewel of the great seductress, Mara. It bewitches the senses, blinds the mind, and leaves the unconscious like a drifting castaway. The imprudent soul that fails to free itself from the mocking demon of illusion will return to earth as a slave of Mara. Contemplate the legions of souls. See how they hover above the troubled sea of human life, and how, exhausted, bleeding, wings broken, they fall one by one into the swirling waves. Shaken by hurricanes, harassed by the violent storm, they rush into the whirlpools and disappear in the first grand whirlpool. If from the vestibule of wisdom you want to pass to the valley of bliss, O disciple, completely close your senses to the great and dreadful heresy of separateness that separates you from others. Do not allow yourself, born of heaven, immersed in the ocean of Maya, to separate from the universal Father, Me. But let the fiery power retire into the innermost region, the chamber of the heart, and the abode of the Mother of the world. So from the heart, this power will rise to the 6th region, the middle region, the place between your eyes when it becomes the breath of the universal self, the voice that fills all, the voice of your master. Only then can you become a skywalker who walks with the wind above the waves and whose steps are untouched by the waters. Before you can set foot on the higher step of the staircase of mystical sounds, you must hear the voice of your inner God in 7 different ways. The first is like the sweet voice of the nightingale, bidding farewell to its mate. The second comes as the sound of a silver cymbal of the dhyanis, awakening the twinkling stars. Next is like the melodious lament of the spirit of the ocean confined in its shell. And this is followed by the Vina's song. The fifth, like a bamboo flute, resonates vibrantly in your ear, and then it becomes the sound of a trumpet. The last vibrates like the dull rumbling of a stormy cloud. The 7th absorbs all the other sounds. These fade away and are heard no more. When the 6 have been slain and laid at the Master's feet, then the disciple is plunged into the One, he becomes that One, and in it he lives. Before entering this path, you must destroy your lunar body, purify your mental body, and cleanse your heart. The pure waters of eternal life, clear and crystalline, cannot mix with the muddy torrents of the tumultuous monsoon. The celestial dewdrop, caressed by the first ray of the morning sun, shines in the heart of the lotus, but once fallen to earth, it turns into mud. See, the pearl is now a speck of silt. Fight against your impure thoughts before they dominate you. Treat them as they pretend to treat you, for if you tolerate them and they take root and grow, know that these thoughts will subjugate and kill you. Beware, disciple, do not even allow their shadow to approach you, for it will grow, increase in magnitude and power, and then this creature of darkness will absorb your being before you realize the presence of the black and abominable monster. Before the mystic power can make a god of you, O Lanu, you must have acquired the ability to destroy at will your lunar form. The material self and the spiritual self can never unite. One of the two must disappear. There is no room for both. Before the understanding of your soul can comprehend, the root of your personality must be extinguished, and the worm of sensation must be annihilated, with no possibility of resurrection. You cannot traverse the path until you have transformed into the path itself. Ensure your soul listens to every cry of pain, like the lotus exposes its heart to absorb the morning sun. Do not allow the scorching sun to dry a single tear of pain before you have wiped it away in the eye of the sufferer. But let the burning tears of humans fall one by one into your heart, and let them remain there. Do not wipe them away until the pain that caused them has dissipated. These tears, O you of the most compassionate heart, are the rivers that irrigate the fields of immortal charity. On this ground grows the midnight flower, the Buddha's flower, more difficult to find and rarer to see than the voge tree's flower. It is the seed that frees from rebirth. It shelters the arhat from all strife and concupiscence, and guides through the regions of being to the peace and happiness known only in the region of silence and non-being. Kill desire. But if you kill it, watch closely, lest it rise among the dead. Kill the love of life, but if you kill tanha, make sure it is not for the thirst of eternal life, but to substitute the transient for the imperishable. Desire nothing. Do not be irritated against karma or the immutable laws of nature. Struggle only against the personal, the transient, the ephemeral, and the perishable. Help nature and work with her, and nature will consider you as one of her creators and obey you. And before you she will throw wide open the gates of her secret enclosures and reveal before your eyes the treasures hidden in the very depths of her pure and virgin bosom. Uncontaminated by the hand of matter, she shows her treasures only to the eye of the spirit, the eye that never closes, the eye for which there is no veil in any of her realms. Then she will show you the means and the path, the first gate and the second and the third, even to the seventh itself. And then she will show you the destination, beyond which, bathed in the light of the spirit sun, exist ineffable glories seen only by the eyes of the soul. There is but one road to the path. Only at its end can the voice of the silence be heard. The staircase by which the candidate ascends is made of steps of suffering and pain. These can only be assuaged by the voice of virtue. Woe to you, O disciple, if there remains a single vice you have not left behind, for then the staircase will give way under your feet and overturn you. Its foundation lies in the deep mire of your sins and faults, and before you can venture across that vast abyss of matter, you must wash your feet in the waters of renunciation. Be cautious, lest you place even one soiled foot on the lowest step of the staircase. Woe to him who dares to soil even a single step with his muddy feet. The filthy and sticky mire will dry, adhere, and then cling his feet to that spot, and like the bird caught in the viscous thread of the birdcatcher, he will be unable to progress further. His vices will take shape and drag him downward. His sins will raise their voice like the laughter and weeping of the jackal after sunset. His thoughts will transform into an army and lead him into bondage. Kill your desires, Lanu. Render your vices powerless before taking the first step in the solemn journey. Stifle your sins, silence them forever, before lifting a foot to ascend the staircase. Silence your thoughts and focus all your attention on your master, whom you do not yet see but perceive. Melt your senses into one sense, if you wish to be secure against the foe. It is by this single sense hidden in the cavity of your brain that the steep path leading to your master can be revealed before the darkened eyes of your soul. Long and arduous is the path that opens before you. O disciple, a single thought on the past you have left behind will drag you down, and you will have to begin climbing again. Destroy in yourself all remembrance of past experiences. Do not look back or you are lost. Do not believe that desire can be rooted out by satisfying or gratifying it, for that is an abomination inspired by Mara. Nurturing vice is like developing and giving it strength, like the worm that feeds on the heart of the flower. The rose must become the bud again. It must be born from its generating stalk before the parasite has gnawed at its heart and sucked its vital sap. The golden tree produces precious buds before the storm has marred its trunk. The disciple must regain the child state he has lost before the first sound can reach his ear. The light of the one master, the golden and unextinguishable light of the Spirit, from the very beginning, casts its brilliant rays upon the disciple. Its rays penetrate the dense and dark clouds of matter. At times here and there, these rays illuminate him, just as through the thick foliage of the forest, the sun's rays illuminate the earth. But, O disciple, unless the flesh is passive, the head cool, and the soul as firm and pure as a dazzling diamond, the radiations will not reach the chamber, its rays will not warm the heart, and the mystic sounds from the Akashic heights will not reach the ear, despite all their enthusiasm at the first stage. Unless you hear your own heart, you cannot see. Unless you see, you cannot hear. Hearing and seeing. This is the second stage, when the disciple sees and hears, and when he smells and tastes with eyes, ears, mouth, and nose closed. When the four senses merge and are ready to move on to the fifth, that of internal perception, then the disciple has moved to the fourth stage. And in the fifth, O slayer of your thoughts, they must all be killed again without hope of resurrection. Turn your mind away from all external objects, from every external sight. Turn away the inner images, lest they cast a dark shadow on the light of your soul. You are now in the Dhran, the sixth stage. Once you have reached the seventh, O blessed of you, you will no longer see the sacred three, for you will have yourself transformed into that three, yourself and the Spirit, as twins of the same lineage, and the star, which is your destination, shining above your head. The three who reside in ineffable glory and bliss have now lost their names in the world of Maya. They have become a single star, the fire that burns but does not consume, the fire which is the upadhi of the flame. And this, O lucky yogi, is what men call dhyana, the immediate precursor of samadhi. And now yourself is lost in the I, yourself in yourself, merged into that I from which you originally emanated. Where is your individuality, Lanu? Where is Lanu himself? It is the spark lost in the fire, the drop in the ocean, the ever-present ray turned into the universal and eternal radiation. And now, Lanu, you are the author and the witness, the one who radiates and the radiation, the light in the sound and the sound in the light. You already know the 5 obstacles, O Blessed One. You are their conqueror, the master of the 6th, the transmitter of the 4 modes of truth. The light that spreads over them emanates from you, O you who were a disciple but are now a master. And regarding these modes of truth, have you not traversed the knowledge of all suffering, the first truth? Have you not vanquished the king of Maras at Tsi, the porch of the assembly, the second truth? Have you not destroyed sin at the 3rd gate and acquired the 3rd truth? Have you not entered the Tao, the path that leads to knowledge, the 4th truth? And now rest under the Bodhi tree, which is the perfection of all knowledge. For know that you are master of Sam Dhi, the state of perfect vision. Look, you have become the light, you have become the sound. You are your master and your God. Yourself is the object of your search, the ceaseless voice that resounds through the eternities, changeless, sinless, the 7 sounds in one, the voice of the silence. Om Tat Sat Fragment 2, the 2 paths. And now, O Master of compassion, show the way to other men. Look at all those who, calling to be admitted, wait in ignorance and darkness for the gate of the sweet law to suddenly open. The voice of the candidates. Will you not, Master of your own mercy, reveal the doctrine of the heart? Will you refuse to guide your servants on the path of liberation? Says the Master, there are 2 paths. The great perfections are 3, 6 are the virtues that transform the body into the tree of knowledge. Who will approach them? Who will be the first to enter? who will first hear the doctrine of the two paths in one, the unveiled truth about the secret heart. The law, which avoiding study, teaches wisdom, reveals a history of anxieties. A sad thing that all men possess Laya, that they are one with the great soul, and yet possessing it, Laya benefits them so little. See how, like the moon reflected in calm waters, Laya is reflected by the small and the great. It reverberates in the tiniest atoms, and yet it fails to reach the heart of all. Ah, how few men avail themselves of the gift, the priceless advantage of learning the truth, of acquiring the true perception of existing things, the knowledge of what is not. Says the disciple, "O Master, what shall I do to attain wisdom? O sage, what shall I do to obtain perfection?" Says the Master, "Go in search of the paths. But O Lanu, be pure of heart before you undertake the journey. Before taking the first step, learn to discern the true from the false, the transient from the enduring. Above all, learn to distinguish wisdom of the head from wisdom of the soul, the doctrine of the I from the doctrine of the heart. Truly, ignorance is like a closed and airless vessel. The soul is like a bird caught in a trap within. It does not chirp and cannot fan a feather. Mute and benumbed, the songbird droops and dies exhausted. But even ignorance is better than wisdom of the head, if it lacks wisdom of the soul to illuminate and guide it. The seeds of wisdom cannot sprout or grow in airless space. To live and gather experience, the mind needs width and depth and fins to steer it toward the diamond soul. Do not seek those fins in the realm of Maya. Rise instead above the illusions. Seek the eternal and immutable Sati, wary of false suggestions of fancy. For the mind is like a mirror. It gathers dust while reflecting. It needs the gentle breezes of the wisdom of the soul to sweep the dust of our illusions. Strive, O beginner, to harmonize your mind with your soul. Flee ignorance, flee also illusion. Turn your face away from the disillusionments of the world. Distrust your senses, for they are deceitful. But within your body and the sanctuary of your sensations, seek in the impersonal, the eternal man, and once you have found it, look inside. You are Buddha. Flee applause, O devotee. Applause leads to personal disillusionment. Your body is not the self. Your self exists by itself independently of the body, and praise or blame does not affect it. Personal satisfaction, O disciple, is like a lofty tower upon which a presumptuous fool has climbed, remaining there in his proud solitude and unnoticed by all but himself. False knowledge is rejected by the sage and scattered to the winds by the good law. Its wheel turns for all, for the humble as well as the proud. The doctrine of the I is for the multitude. The doctrine of the heart, it is for the elect. The former proudly repeats, "Look, I know." The latter, those who have humbly gathered the harvest, confess in a low voice, "Thus have I heard." Great Tamis is the name of the doctrine of the heart, O disciple. The wheel of the good law turns swiftly. It grinds day and night. It drives away the useless chaff from the golden grain, the waste from the flour. The hand of karma guides the wheel, and its revolutions mark the beats of the karmic heart. True knowledge is the flour. False teaching is the chaff. If you want to eat the bread of wisdom, you must knead your flour with the clear waters of Amrita. But if you knead the chaff with the dew of Maya, you will only prepare food for the black pigeons of death, the birds of birth, degeneration, and suffering. If you are told that to become an arhat, you must cease to love all beings. Tell them they lie. If you are told that to attain liberation, you must hate your mother and neglect your child, renounce your father and call him head of the family, forsake all compassion for man and beast, tell them their speech is false. This is what the Tirthikas and the unbelievers preach. If you are taught that sin arises from action and happiness from absolute inaction, tell them they err. The impermanence of human action, the liberation of the mind from slavery through the cessation of sin and faults, are not for the ego's diva. This is what the doctrine of the heart says. The dharma of the I is the embodiment of the external and the non-existent. The dharma of the heart is the embodiment of bodhi, that which is permanent and imperishable. The lamp shines brightly when the wick and the oil are clean. To cleanse them, a purifier is needed. The flame does not experience the process of purification. The branches of a tree are shaken by the wind. The trunk remains immobile. Action and inaction can both find their place within you, your agitated body, your calm mind, your soul as clear as a mountain lake. Do you wish to become a yogi of the circle of time? Then, O Lanu, do not believe that living in dark forests in proud isolation away from men, do not believe that sustaining yourself on roots and plants, quenching your thirst with the snow of the great Cordillera, do not believe, O devotee, that this will lead you to the attainment of ultimate liberation. Do not think that by breaking your bones, tearing your flesh and muscles, you will merge with your silent self. Do not think that once the sins of your dense form are conquered, O victim of your shadows, your duties towards nature and man are fulfilled. The blessed have refused to act in this manner. The Lion of the Law, the Lord of Mercy, perceiving the true cause of human misery, immediately abandoned the sweet but selfish rest of quiet forests. From Julai, he became the teacher of humanity. Having entered nirvana as Julai, he preached on the mountain and in the plain and delivered discourses in cities for devas, men and gods. Sow good deeds and you shall reap their fruits. Inaction in charitable work becomes action in deadly sin. Thus speaks the sage. Will you abstain from action? This is not how your soul will attain its freedom. To reach nirvana, you must acquire knowledge of yourself, and self-knowledge is the fruit of good deeds. Have patience, candidate, like one who fears no failure nor seeks any triumph. Fix the gaze of your soul on the star of which you are the ray, the flaming star that shines in the dark depths of eternal existence, the infinite regions of the unknown. Be persevering, like one who suffers eternally. Your shadows live and fade away. What will always live in you, what in you knows, for it is knowledge, is not endowed with ephemeral life. It is the man who was, is, and will be, and for whom the hour will never strike. If you wish to attain peace and gentle repose, disciple, sow with the seeds of merit the fields of future harvests. Accept the miseries of birth. Pass from the sunlight to the shadow to make room for others. The tears that water the arid ground of pain and sorrow cause the flowers and fruits of karmic retribution to sprout. From the furnace of human life and its black smoke, swift flames arise, purified flames which, ascending under the karmic eye, finally weave the glorious fabric of the three robes of the path. These robes are Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya, the sublime robe. The Shangna robe can truly provide eternal light. The Shangna robe only procures the nirvana of destruction. It ends rebirth. But O Lanu, it also kills compassion. The perfect Buddhas who are clothed in the glory of Dharmakaya can no longer aid in man's salvation. Will all yos be sacrificed for the self, humanity for the well-being of the units? Know, O beginner, that it is the open way, the path that leads to selfish happiness, avoided by the bodhisattvas of the secret heart, the Buddhas of compassion. Living for the good of humanity is the first step. Practicing the 6 glorious virtues is the second. Donning the modest robe of Nirmanakaya is renouncing eternal happiness for oneself, to aid in man's salvation. Attaining the blessing of nirvana and yet renouncing it, that is the final step, the highest on the path of renunciation. Know, O disciple, that it is the secret path chosen by the Buddhas of perfection who sacrificed self to weaker yos. But if the doctrine of the heart is too lofty for you, if you yourself need help and fear offering help to others, then, O you with a timid heart, realize in time. Content yourself with the doctrine of the eye of the law. Wait yet. For if the secret path is inaccessible to you this day, it will be within your reach tomorrow. Learn that no effort, even the most insignificant in any direction, good or bad, can vanish from the world of causes. Even dispersed smoke leaves no trace. A harsh word spoken in past lives does not perish, but always returns. Roses will not spring from a pepper tree, and the white star of fragrant jasmine will not turn into thorns or thistles. You can create your opportunities for your tomorrow on this day. In the great journey, the causes sown at every hour bear their harvest of effects, for strict justice rules the world. With a powerful range of action that never errs, it brings to mortals lives of happiness or sorrow, karmic progeny of all our previous thoughts and actions. Therefore amass as much merit as is reserved for you, O patient-hearted one. Be of light spirit and content with your destiny. Such is your karma, the karma of the cycle of your births, the destiny of those who, in their pain and sadness, were born at the same time as you. Rejoice and weep from life to life, bound by your past actions. Work for them today, and they will work for you tomorrow. From the flower of self-renunciation springs the sweet fruit of final liberation. He who for fear of Mara refrains from helping man, except for his own benefit, is doomed to perish. The pilgrim who desires to refresh his parched lips in the waters of the current, but does not dare to plunge in for fear, risks dying of heat. Inaction based on selfish fear can only produce bad fruit. The selfish devotee serves aimlessly. The man who does not perform the task assigned to him in life has lived in vain. Follow the wheel of life. Follow the wheel of duty towards race and family, friend and foe, and close your mind to both pleasure and pain. Exhaust the law of karmic retribution. Accumulate siddhis for your future birth. If you cannot be the sun, then be the humble planet. If you cannot shine like the noonday sun on the snow-crowned mountain of eternal purity, then, O neophyte, choose a humbler way. Show the path even faintly and confusedly amidst the crowd, as the evening star shows it to those who follow its path in the darkness. Behold, Migmar, how with its reddish veils its eye passes over the sleeping earth. Observe the burning aura of the hand of Lagpa, extended in a sign of loving protection above the heads of his ascetics. Both are now servants of Nima, left in his absence as silent sentinels of the night. However, in past kalpas, both were resplendent Naimas, and perhaps in days to come, they will become two suns again. Such are the falls and ascensions of the karmic law of nature. Be like them, O Lanu. Bring light and comfort to the weary pilgrim, and seek out the one who knows even less than you, the one who, in his desolate wretchedness, awaits hungry for the bread of wisdom, and the bread that nourishes the shade without instructor, without hope or comfort, and make him hear the law. Tell him, O candidate, that he who makes pride and self-love the slaves of devotion, he who, clinging to existence, nonetheless deposits his patience and obedience to the law, like a fragrant flower laid at the feet of Shakya Thubpa, becomes a Srotapati in this incarnation. The siddhis of perfection may appear late, very late, but the first step has been taken. One enters the current, and the vision of the eye of the mountain eagle and the hearing of the timid deer can be attained. Say, O aspirant, true devotion can render him knowledge, that knowledge which was his in far-off incarnations. The vision and hearing of the diva are not attained in a short existence. Be humble if you wish to attain wisdom. Be even more humble even if you are master of wisdom. Be like the ocean that receives all currents and rivers. The mighty tranquility of the ocean remains unaltered. It does not feel them. Restrain your lower self with your divine self. Hold the divine through the eternal. Truly great is the one who annihilates desire. Beware of the lower, do not let it soil the higher. The path to final liberation is within yourself. This path begins and ends beyond the self. Despised by men and humble before the proud gaze of the Tirthika is the mother of all rivers, devoid of human form, although it is full of the pleasant waters of Amrita in the eyes of the foolish. Yet the origin of sacred rivers is the sacred region, and one who possesses wisdom is honored by all men. The arhats and the sages with limitless vision are as rare as the flower of the Udumbara tree. The arhats are born at midnight, simultaneously with the sacred plant with 9 and 7 stalks, the holy flower that unfolds and blossoms in the darkness, arising from the clear dew and the icy bed of unsullied snow-capped peaks. No arhat O Lanu becomes one in this incarnation where, for the first time, the soul begins to prepare for final liberation. Yet, O eager-hearted one, no warrior who willingly fights in the fierce battle between the living and the dead, no recruit can be denied the right to enter the path that leads to the battlefield, for he will either conquer or succumb. But if he conquers, nirvana will be his. Before releasing the shadow of his mortal envelope, this dread-filled motive of endless anguish and pain will be honored by men, paying homage to him as a holy and wise Buddha. And if he succumbs, then it will not be in vain. The enemies he killed in the last battle will not return to life in his next birth. But if you wish to attain nirvana or renounce at the price, let it not be the motive fruit of action and inaction, O you of intrepid heart. Know that for the bodhisattva who exchanges liberation for renunciation, to assume the sufferings of the secret life, he is called the thrice-honored, O you, candidate for suffering through the cycles. The path is one disciple. However, at its end it is twofold. Its steps are marked by 4 and 7 gates. At one end, immediate happiness, and at the other, deferred bliss. Both are the reward of merit. The choice is yours. The one path becomes 2, the open path and the secret path. The first leads to the destination, the second to self-immolation. When the changeable is sacrificed to the permanent, the reward is yours. The drop returns to the point whence it came. The open path leads to change without change, to nirvana, to the glorious state of the absolute, to happiness beyond human thought. Thus the first path is liberation, but the second path is renunciation, and that is why it is called the path of pain. The secret path leads the arhat to unspeakable mental suffering, sufferings for the living dead, and impotent compassion for men who groan in karmic bitterness. Yet the sages care not for karma's results, for it is written, "Let the effect follow its cause as the night the day. Teach to eschew all causes." The open path, as soon as you have reached its goal, will make you cast off the bodhisattvic body and will lead you into the thrice glorious state of Dharmakaya, which is forgetting the world and men forever. The secret path also leads to paranirvanic bliss, but after countless kalpas, of nirvana's won and lost through limitless piety and compassion for the world of frustrated mortals. But it has been said, the last shall be the greatest. Samyak Sambuddha, the master of perfection, abandoned his self for the salvation of the world, halting at the threshold of nirvana, the pure state. Now you possess the knowledge concerning the 2 paths. The day of your choice will come, O you with eager soul, when you have at last reached and crossed the 7 gates. Your mind is illumined. You are no longer entangled in delusive thoughts, for you have learned all. Truth has been revealed and looks you straight in the eyes, and it says, "Sweet are the fruits of rest and liberation for the self's benefit. Yet sweeter still are the fruits of long-continued and bitter duty. Yes, renunciation for others' profit, for your fellow sufferers." One who becomes Pratyeka Buddha obeys only his self. The bodhisattva, who has won the battle, who holds in his hand the reward of victory, yet says in his divine compassion, "For others I renounce this great reward," and fulfills the great renunciation. He is a savior of the world. Behold, the goal of happiness and the long path of bitterness are at the ultimate end. You can choose either, O aspirant for pain, through the coming centuries. Om Vajrapani, hum fragment 3, the 7 portals. Updiewai, yea, the choice is made. I thirst for wisdom. Now that you have rent the veil before the secret path, and have taught the great vehicle, here is your servant ready to be guided by you. Well said, Shravaka. Prepare yourself, for you must travel alone. The master can but show the way. The path is one for all. The means to attain the goal must vary with the pilgrims. What will you choose, O you of intrepid heart? The samtan of the doctrine of the eye, the 4 dhyanas, or will you rather follow the path of the paramitas, 6 in number, noble gates of virtue that lead to bodhi and prajna, the 7th step of wisdom? The difficult path of the 4 dhyanas winds upward. 3 times great is he who climbs to the lofty summit. The peaks of the paramitas intersect with an even steeper path. You must make your way through 7 gates, 7 fortresses guarded by cunning and cruel powers, incarnate passions. Be optimistic, disciple. Bear in mind the golden rule. Once you have passed the Srotapati gate, he who entered the stream, once your feet have trodden the nirvanic path, in this life or in a future life, there remain but 7 births before you, O you of unwavering will. Look, what do you see before you, O aspirant for divine wisdom? The mantle of darkness covers the depths of matter. Through its folds, I progress with difficulty. Under the piercing gaze of my eyes, The veil thickens, Lord. It dissipates at a wave of your hand. A shadow advances, creeping like a coiled, awakened serpent. It grows, expands, and vanishes into the dark. It is the shadow of yourself estranged from the path, merged in the darkness of your sins. Yes, Lord, I see the path, with its base in the mud and its summit lost in the glorious light of the nirvanic. And now I gaze at the ever-narrowing portals on the hard and thorny path to Jnana. You see well, Lanu, these portals lead the aspirant through the waters to the other side. Each portal has a golden key that opens its door. These keys are 1. DNA, the key to charity and immortal love. 2. Shila, the key to harmony in speech and action, the key that balances cause and effect and leaves no room for karmic action. KSHNTI, sweet patience which nothing can alter. 4. VRGA, indifference to pleasure and pain. Truth is perceived only when illusion has been overcome. 5. Virya, intrepid energy that carves a path to sublime truth, out of the mire of earth's lies. Dhyana, whose golden door once opened, leads the Narjol to the eternal kingdom of Sat and its perpetual contemplation. 7. Prajna, whose key makes man a god, constituting him a bodhisattva, offspring of the Dhyanis. Such are the golden keys of the portals. Before you can approach the last, O forger of your freedom, you must master these paramitas of perfection, the 6 and 10 transcendent virtues, all along the weary way. For, O disciple, before you are ready to meet face to face with your preceptor, with your master, light against light, what has been told you? Before you can cross the first gate, you must learn to separate your body from your mind, to dissipate the shadow and to live in eternity. For this you must live and breathe in all as all that you perceive breathes in you. You must feel yourself abiding in all things, and all things abiding in the self. You will not let your senses make your mind a playground. You will not separate your being from being and other beings, but you will immerse the ocean in the drop, and the drop in the ocean. Thus you shall be in perfect harmony with all that lives. You shall love men as if they were all your comrades and brothers, disciples of the same master, children of one tender mother. There are many instructors. The master self is a liar, the universal self. Live in this master as his ray lives in you. Live in your companions as they live in him. Before you can set foot on the threshold of the path, before you cross the first gate, you must merge the two into one and sacrifice the personal self to the impersonal self, thus destroying the path that exists between the two, the antaskarana. You must be ready to respond to Dharma, the relentless law, whose voice will ask you upon taking your first step, your initial step. Have you observed all the rules, O you with sublime hopes? Have you harmonized your heart and mind with the great thought and great heart of all humanity? For just as the roaring voice of the sacred river by which all sounds of nature echo back, so must the heart of one who wishes to enter the current vibrate in response to every breath and every thought of all that lives and breathes. Disciples may be likened to the strings of the vina, echoing the soul, humanity to its sounding board, the hand that plucks it, to the melodious breath of the great world mind. The string that fails to respond to the master's pulsation in sweet harmony with all the others breaks and is cast aside. So must be the collective thoughts of the Lanu Sravakas. They must be attuned with the thought of the Upadhyaya, one with the highest self, or be separated. This is what the brothers of the shadow do, the destroyers of their selves, the dreadful clan of the Dad Dugpa. Have you harmonized your being with the great pain of humanity, O candidate for light? Yes? Then you may enter. But before stepping onto the sorrowful path, it is good that you first know the pitfalls laid on your way. Armed with the key of charity, love, and tender compassion, you are assured before the gate of Dana, the gate that marks the entrance of the path. Look, O happy pilgrim, the gateway before you is high and wide, seemingly easy to access. The path that runs through it is straight, smooth, and full of verdant freshness. It is like a sunlit clearing in the dark depths of the forest, a spot on earth reflecting Amitabha's paradise. There, The nightingales of hope and birds with iridescent feathers perch on green branches, singing the song of victory to the intrepid pilgrims. They sing of the 5 virtues of bodhisattvas, the quintuple source of bodhi power and the 7 steps of knowledge. Advance, for you have brought the key, you are safe. And before the second gate, the path is also of verdant freshness, but it is very steep and ends at the hill's summit, yes, to its rocky crest. Grey mists will hover over its rugged rocky peak, and beyond all is dark. As you ascend, the song of hope echoes more and more faintly in the pilgrim's heart. The shiver of doubt threatens to seize him. His step grows weaker. Beware of that, O candidate. Guard against the spreading fear, akin to the silent black wings of the midnight bat, between the moonlit glade of yourself and your great destination, looming far beyond. Fear, O disciple, kills willpower and paralyzes all action. If the virtue Shila is lacking, the pilgrim stumbles, and karmic stones wound his feet on the stony path. Secure your steps, O candidate. Bathe your soul in the essence of Kshanti, for now you approach the gateway of that name, the gate of strength and patience. Do not close your eyes, do not turn away from the dorje. Mara's arrows always wound the man who has not reached Viragya. Do not tremble. If the key of Kshanti is encouraged by fear, it rusts. The oxidized key cannot serve to unlock. The further you progress, the more ties your feet will find. The path that leads to the destination is illuminated by a single light, the light of courage burning in the heart. The more one dares, the more one gains, the more one fears, the paler this light becomes, and it alone can guide. For just as the last sunbeam shining on the summit of a great mountain, fading away, is followed by the black night, so it is with the light of the heart. When it dims, a dark and threatening shadow will fall from your own heart to the path, and your feet will be pinned by terror. In that place, beware, disciple, of that deadly shadow. No light from the spirit can dispel the darkness of the lower self unless all selfish thought has vanished, and the pilgrim says, I have renounced this fleeting form, I have destroyed the cause. The shadows projected as effects cannot continue to exist. For now the final great battle has erupted, the ultimate struggle between the higher self and the lower self. Behold, the same battleground is now engulfed in the great war and ceases to exist. But once you have passed through the gate of Kshanti, the third step is taken. Your body is a slave. Now prepare for the fourth, the gate of temptations that lays traps for the inner man. Before you can approach the destination, before your hand rises to lift the hammer of the fourth gate, you must have mastered within yourself all mental changes and must have slain the army of mental impressions, which, subtle and insidious, sneak stealthily into the radiant sanctuary of the soul. If you do not want them to kill you, then you must neutralize and render inoperative your own creations. The daughters of your thoughts, invisible, intangible, swarming around humankind, offspring and inheritors of man and his earthly spoils. You must consider the emptiness of what seems full, the fullness of what seems empty. O intrepid aspirant, dive into the deepest part of your own heart and answer, do you know the powers of the self, you who perceive external shadows? If not, then you are lost. For on the fourth path, the slightest breeze of passion or desire will agitate the calm light on the white and pure walls of the soul. The smallest sign of nostalgia or lamentation for the illusory gifts of Maya. Along the Antaskarana, the path between your spirit and yourself, the elevated path of sensations, the strong promptings of Ahankara, a thought as swift as the lightning flash, will make you lose your 3 rewards, the rewards you have earned. For know that the eternal knows no change. Forever renounce the 8 oppressive afflictions. If you do not, you certainly cannot attain wisdom or liberation, says the great Lord, the Tathagata of perfection too, the one who followed in the footsteps of his predecessors. Rigid and demanding is the virtue of Viragya. If you wish to master the path, you must hold your mind and perceptions much freer than before killing action. You must imbue yourself with the pure essence of Laya, attain identification with the thought self of nature. United with it, you are invincible. Separated, you become the playground of Samvriti, the origin of all illusions of the world. Everything in man is impermanent. except the pure, shining essence of Laya. Man is its crystalline ray, a ray of immaculate light within, a form of material mud on the lower surface. This ray is the guide of your life and your true self, the watcher and the silent thought, the victim of your lower self. Your soul can only be wounded by your body, subject to error. Control and dominate both, and you will safely traverse the near gate of balance. Take heart, intrepid pilgrim headed to the other shore. Pay no heed to the whispers of hordes of Mara. Drive away the tempters, the malevolent spirits, the envious Lhamayin of unlimited space. Stand firm. You are already approaching the gate of the center, the gate of anguish, with its 10,000 snares. Control your thoughts, you who strive. Build it solidly for eternity, so that the furious charge of waves, rising and striking the shores of the great ocean world of Maya, does not engulf the pilgrim and the island, even when victory is won. Your island is the deer. Your thoughts are the dogs that harass and weary it on its journey to the stream of life. Woe to the deer that is caught by the fierce barking before reaching the valley of refuge, Dhyana Marga, called the path of pure knowledge. Before you can settle into the Dhyana Marga and claim it as your own, your soul must become like the ripe mango, as sweet and smooth as its golden shining pulp for the sorrows of others, as hard as the fruit's bone for your own torments and misfortunes. O conqueror of happiness and misery, strengthen your soul against the pitfalls of the self, make it deserve the name of diamond self. For just as the diamond deeply buried in the throbbing heart of the earth can never reflect earthly lights, so it is with your mind and soul. Immersed in the Dhyana Marga, they must not reflect anything of the illusory realm of Maya. When you have reached this state, the portals you must conquer on the path will wide open their doors to let you pass, and the most dreaded powers of nature will have no force to halt your progress. You will be the master of the sevenfold path, but not before that, O candidate for trials that surpass words. Until that moment, an even more difficult task awaits you. You must perceive yourself as all thought, and yet you must banish all thoughts from your soul. You must achieve a steadfastness of mind such that no breeze, however strong, can carry an earthly thought. Thus purified, the sanctuary must be emptied of all worldly action, sound, or light. Just as the butterfly caught by frost falls lifeless on the threshold, so must all earthly thoughts die before the sanctuary. Read it thus: before the golden flame can burn with unchanging light, the lamp must remain well protected from the wind. Exposed to the shifting breeze, the glow flickers, and the trembling flame casts deceptive, dark, and ever-changing shadows upon the white sanctuary of the soul. And then, O seeker of truth, your mind will become like a raging elephant roaring in the jungle. Mistaking the trees of the forest for living enemies, it will perish trying to destroy the ever-changing shadows dancing on the rocky wall illuminated by the sun. Be cautious, lest in its concern for self your self slip on the ground of device knowledge. Be cautious, lest in forgetting self your self lose control over its dark mind, and hence the right to the legitimate enjoyment of its conquests. Be cautious of change, for change is your great enemy. This change will completely defeat you, casting you backward off the path you follow, plunging you into the viscous swamps of doubt. Prepare yourself and be forewarned. If you have tried and failed, O intrepid fighter, do not lose heart. Continue to struggle and return to the charge again and again. The intrepid fighter, letting the blood of its precious life flow from its wide-open wounds, will yet attack the enemy, cast it out from its fortress, and vanquish it before even expiring. Act thus, act like him, all of you. Those who fall and suffer, and from the fortress of yourself, cast out all your enemies, ambition, anger, hatred, and even the very shadow of desire, even if you have failed. Remember, you who strive for mankind's liberation, that every failure is a success, and that every sincere effort is rewarded in time. The sacred seeds germinating and growing unseen in the disciple's soul, their shoots strengthened by each new trial, bend like reeds, but never break, nor can they be lost. Instead, they bloom when the hour arrives. But if you have come prepared, then fear nothing. Now your path is clear and straight through the gateway of Virya, the fifth of the 7 gates. You are now on the path leading to the port of Dhyana, the sixth, the Bodhi Gate. The Dhyana Gate is like an alabaster vase, white and diaphanous. Within it burns an unchanging golden fire, the flame of prajna, emanating from Taman. You are this vase. You have withdrawn yourself from the objects of the senses. You have travelled on the path of vision, on the path of hearing, and you find yourself in the light of knowledge. You have already arrived at the state of titiksha. O Najol, you are safe. Know, conqueror of sins, that once a Sawani has crossed the seventh gate, all of nature vibrates with joyful and respectful admiration, feeling subdued. The silvery star communicates its gleaming tidings to nocturnal flowers. The stream, with its murmurs, conveys the news to the stones. The dark waves of the ocean will communicate it to the wave-beaten rocks. The fragrant breezes will sing it to the valleys, and the majestic pines will whisper mysteriously, "A master has appeared, a master of the day." He now stands like a white pillar towards the west, and on his face the dawning sun of eternal thought pours forth its first and most glorious rays. His mind, like an unbounded, tranquil sea, extends through infinite space. In his mighty right hand he holds life and death. Yes, he is mighty. The living power is released within him. That power which is himself can raise the tabernacle of illusion above the gods, above the great Brahma and Indra. Now will he surely attain his great reward? Will he not by any chance use the gifts it bestows for his own rest and happiness, for his well-deserved bliss and glory, he, the conqueror of the great illusion? No, in no way, O you candidate for the occult knowledge of nature. If one wishes to follow in the footsteps of the holy Tathagata, these gifts and powers are not for oneself. Will you try to dam the waters born in Sumeru? Will you twist their course for your own benefit? Or will you make them retreat to their primitive source, along the summits of the cycles? If you wish to have this hard-earned flow of knowledge, of this wisdom born of heaven, keep yourself in the gently flowing waters. Do not let it become a muddy pond. Know that if you want to become a co-worker of Amitabha, the endless age, you must, in the manner of the twin bodhisattvas, spread acquired light over the expanse of the three worlds. Know that the current of superhuman knowledge and device wisdom you have acquired must pour out from you the channel of Laya into another bed. Know, O Najal, you who are on the secret path, that its cool and pure waters must serve to soften the bitter waves of the ocean, that mighty ocean of suffering formed of human tears. What a pity! Once you have become a fixed star in the highest sky, that shining celestial sphere must radiate from the depths of space for all, except for you. Give light to all, but take nothing for yourself. What a pity! When you have become like the pure snow of mountain valleys, cold and insensitive to the touch, warm and protective for the seed sleeping deep within, it is now this snow that must receive the cutting frost, the blasts of the north, thereby protecting against its sharp and cruel teeth, the earth that holds the long-awaited harvest that will satisfy hunger. Condemned by yourself to live through the kalpas to come, without the recognition of men and going unnoticed, embedded like a stone among countless other stones, forming the guardian wall, this is your future if you pass the seventh gate. Built by the hands of many compassionate masters, erected with their torments, cemented with their blood, it has protected humanity since man has been man, guarding it against new miseries and sufferings far greater. Yet man does not see it, will not perceive it, will not hear the word of wisdom, for he is unaware. But you have heard, you know it all, O earnest and eager self, and you must choose. Therefore be attentive again. On the path of Soan, O Srotapati, you are safe. Yes, in this marga where the weary pilgrim finds only darkness, where, torn by thorns and briars, hands bleed, feet are wounded by sharp, hard pebbles, and where Mara brandishes his mightiest weapons, there is a great reward in the near future. Calm and impassive, the pilgrim glides along the stream leading to nirvana. He knows that the more his feet bleed, the cleaner and purified he will be. He knows well that after 7 short and ephemeral births, nirvana will be his. This is the path of Dhyana, the port of the yogi, the glorious destination coveted by the Srotapatis. It is not so when he has crossed and conquered the Aryahata path. There, klesha is destroyed forever, and the roots of tanha are uprooted. But wait, disciple, one more word. Can you annihilate divine compassion? Compassion is not an attribute. It is the law of laws, the eternal harmony, the self of Laya, a universal and infinite essence, the light of eternal justice and the agreement of all things, the law of eternal love. The more you identify with it, melting your being into its being, the more your self merges with what is, the more you become absolute compassion. This is the path of Raya, the path of the Buddhas of perfection. However, what is the significance of the scrolls of the sacred scripture, which make you utter the following words? Om. I believe that all arhats do not attain the sweet enjoyment of the nirvanic path. Om. I believe that all Buddhas do not enter into nirvana dharma. Yes, on the path Riya, you are no longer a Srotapati, you are a bodhisattva. The current has been crossed. It is true that you are entitled to the garment Dharmakaya, but the Sambhogakaya is greater than the Nirvanic. And even greater is the Nirmanakaya, the Buddha of compassion. Now bow your head and listen attentively, O Bodhisattva. Compassion speaks and says, can there be happiness when all that lives must suffer? Will you save yourself, and will I hear the whole world groan? You have already heard what was said. You will reach the 7th stage and cross the door of ultimate knowledge, but it will only be to unite with pain. If you wish to be Tathagata, follow in the footsteps of your predecessor. Show devotion until the endless end. You are already illuminated. Choose your path. Contemplate the gentle light that floods the sky in the east. As a prayer symbol, the two, sky and earth, united and manifested quadruple powers, rise in a song of love, thus from the flaming fire to the flowing water, and so from the sweet fragrance of the earth to the swift wind. Listen. From the deep and unfathomable whirl of that golden light in which the victor bathes, the wordless voice of all nature with 1,000 accents rises to proclaim, Rejoice, men of Mayalba. A pilgrim has returned from the other shore. A new Arhan is born. Peace to all beings. Thank you for your visit.